Hey there, it's Rose from the Painted Toad, and welcome to Paint with me. Tonight we are painting the Tropical Paradise. So I'm going to jump right in. This is an easy beginner acrylic painting. If you want to join me, you can paint along with me or watch the video later. But let me jump in here and we'll get started. So I do these easy beginners paintings every Wednesday at 6:30 all summer. I've been doing these. If you're joining me, say hi. Let me know how you're doing. And if you want to know about when I'm going to be painting or what I'm going to be painting next, you can get on my Paint With Me mailing list through my website. And I'll send you an email every week to let you know. And if there's any tracers. There's no tracer for this one tonight. This is just a fun, free, easy painting. I'm using light blue and a flat brush going back and forth here. And this is a 5x7 canvas. This blue is, well, it's kind of thin actually. So have you ever been to a tropical paradise? If you have, where's your favorite place to go? Honestly, I guess the most tropical place I've ever been is Florida. But my husband and I both want to go to Hawaii someday. So have you ever been to Hawaii? Maybe you're in Hawaii, I don't know. What is your favorite tropical refuge? A lot of times we spend a lot of our time going up north rather than south to the tropics because we have beautiful sandy beaches, but this is the only time of year where you can really enjoy it because otherwise the rest of the year everything's pretty frozen over and cold. The lakes are cold. All right, I am switching now and I'm going to add some yellow to this, but I also want to add a little bit of white as well to the yellow because I don't want it that vibrant. I want to get some very soft colors going. I'm using woo, trying to get my white paint out here. White is always a challenge to get out. Anyways, I want kind of a soft color blending here. So there is a little bit of trickiness between our blue and our yellow because if you know from, kindergarten or whenever you learned your colors, blue and yellow make green. So we don't want too much of a green tint in our sky, but a little bit of green is going to look okay. So I'm going to dip into the white here and just tone this part down just a tad so that I still have my vibrant blue up here, but I'm going to be working into the yellow next. And if it turns a little green, that's going to be fine. We're going with a very vibrant color scheme here. I am going to rinse my brush out because it does have blue in it. And then I'll be mixing some of that white with yellow next. There we go. Making sure I dry it off real quick. And then I'm going to take on my brush both colors here. I'm going to take some of the yellow and some of the white. I'm loading them both up on my brush. I do that a lot when I'm doing blending because the colors just kind of naturally blend a little bit better if you do that. If you want to get a lighter shade of yellow, like this is still pretty vibrant, I might tone it down a little bit more. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of bring this up here to my blue layer. I'll let it mix just a tad because I don't want this whole thing to start turning green on me. So I don't know if you can see that. That's not too bad. It looks okay up there. Kind of bring in some more of this yellow. I'm going to take in a little bit more white and tone this down. So I want these real soft colors. It's kind of like the morning sunrise, so not the real deep shades of red. The sun is already rising. Might be a hot, steamy day. So we'll get this just going like that. Now I would like this blue to blend in a little bit more. So let's try and just add a little bit of blue and white up here. Let's see what happens. We don't want it to turn too green here, but I do want to get more of the, there we go. Actually, that doesn't look too, That doesn't look too bad. I'm just gonna gently kind of sweep this back and forth to get these colors to blend. Throw a little bit more blue in there. And as you're blending, if you don't like the colors and how they're blending, if it's not turning out quite the way you envisioned, you can always just let this dry and try again. You know, once it's dry, you can try and go over the colors again. So that's just one little tip I have. I think I give that tip a lot. Some more blue on there. All right, I like that. See how nicely those colors kind of mix? Okay, so our next color we're going to get into down here is a little bit of, I want this to turn a little bit of orange for me. So in doing so, I want to make sure that I don't have any blue in my brush because blue and orange are complementary colors. And they look really great next to each other. However, if you end up mixing them, they will turn brown. So really good next to each other, mixed up turns brown. If you ever don't have brown paint, blue and orange will make a great shade of brown for you. But on our background here, we don't want, you know, smog in our sky. So what I'm going to do for this part is I'm going to take a little bit of, I could use orange right in this, but I'm going to take a little bit of this red here, and we're gonna create our own shade of orange. And I also have some coral that I also grabbed, so I'm going to do a couple different interesting things here. I do have a little bit of blue over here on this side. I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to stick over here with this, use some more of my white. It's got yellow in it, but that's fine because I already have yellow on there, so that doesn't matter. And I'm going to just take a touch of the red, not very much because I don't want red to overtake everything. And then I'm going to do some red with the white here, and then maybe grab a little bit of yellow. You could mix all this up. I kind of like to mix it right on the palette just to see what happens with the colors. So let me start blending this in. So I'm going to bring this here. You can see how that red is very vibrant. If you do too much red, it's going to take over everything. And I do want more red in here. We will have more red, but we want a gradual change from our yellow down to our red. So we want this to look a bit orangey. I'm going to go back in with yellow and a little bit of white with the yellow, so I can just get this a little more orange. And let me grab some more of this white here. I want it toned down, very soft tones today. You could do this with very vibrant tones, just use less of the white, and then you could have a very vibrant blending here. So I like that. That looks pretty cool. So we have our blue kind of, you know, coming in a little bit of green into the light yellow. Now it's a little bit orangey. Now what I'm going to do, I don't really need to clean my brush, but I am going to take some of that red, and I do need some more white because my white is a little bit mixed up with my other colors. So let me get some fresh white on here. This is going to be so pretty by the time we're done. So I'm going to dip my brush right here just in a little bit of the red, not too much again, and then some white. And we want this to be definitely more pink. We want to get that pink in there. So it's definitely going to turn pink. Let's kind of pull this across here. Now I still have some of this yellowy, orangey shade here. You can kind of see. So I'm going to just kind of pick some of that up, and I'm going to blend that up here where these other colors were, so that we can get more of a natural, gradual blending. And the other trick we can use, I'll get a little bit more yellow in there. Let's just add a touch more yellow. The other trick, add a touch more white. Tone it down. So you can keep adding on top of this. Just because you have one color doesn't mean you can't just keep adding. I do a lot of mixing right on the canvas. Sometimes if you mix it on the palette, you don't get this gradual change. So I let the brush, I keep the brush, my brush is a mess here. So let the brush have some of that color on it and just let these colors blend on your canvas. A lot of people wonder, you know, if you're a beginner painter, you wonder, how do you get it to blend like that? Well, you just kind of work your way back and forth. Keep it very wet. Sometimes if the paint gets too dry, it's not going to want to blend for you. Like, see, that's way too much red. I'm just going to go in and add white right on top of it. Okay, I felt like it was too dark, so just add some more white. There, I think that's looking pretty cool. I did do a little bit of coral, so I've got some of this coral, and this is just craft paint. I'm going to add that at the bottom. I may also add some white with that. Let's just kind of see how it looks. I want this to look kind of, yeah, that's pretty vibrant, so I'm just going to take a touch of the white in here. And once again, we're going to tone down that coral, kind of blend it up into this pink so we get a real natural progression of color. Isn't that gorgeous? I got a lot of paint on my brush here. If you have edges on your canvas, don't forget to do your edges. These little 5x7s I use, it's just a canvas board, so there isn't much of an edge. But if you have a nice big canvas you're trying this on, then do the nice big canvas. So there we go. There's our background. I don't know about you, but isn't that pretty? Just such a lovely what is it? I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but anyways, maybe you can give me the right word. Transition, that's the one I'm looking for. Transition of color. Lots of fun color. It looks like cotton candy almost. Okay, so this is a very simple painting. The next color, now that we have the background in, I want to do a sun. A lot of times I don't paint a sun because, I don't know, painting a sun can be cliche. But this one is kind of cool. So I'm going to come in with some white here. White paint on a round brush. And I'm going to paint the sun. Don't put it way up in the corner. That's very cliche. We're not going to put a big sun up in the corner. So I'm going to put it kind of down here, maybe in this area where it's kind of bright. And we're just going to do a little circle here. And then if you want to, you can kind of maybe mix a little bit of this white around here and just kind of swirl it. And you'll get a little bit of a, you know, bright area there. I'm going to go back in with a little bit more white. Just kind of circle that up again so it's very round. Okay, so we have a nice round sun rising. Make it super bright white. And the paint's pretty thick too. Okay, so there's my little sun. It's kind of rising up. And then I wonder what's on this. I got little bumpies here on the canvas. I don't know if I had something in my brush or something in the canvas or something in the paint. I'm already getting paint on my arms. Okay. So I'm going to kind of stay away from this white for now and let that dry on that side. And while that's drying, we're going to come over here and start painting some palm trees. So you could do a variety of things with this. You have the option. I'm not sure if I put a fan brush in the list or a rake brush. I'm actually going to paint this using a liner brush. Sometimes fan brushes can be a bit challenging if you're new to painting. So I will admit that they are challenging for me. I need to practice more with it and I probably do a better job. But what we're going to use now is a small liner brush like one of these. Nice and skinny, nice and small. And I'm going straight into my black paint here. And I'm going to be painting some palm trees. So stay away from the white. We don't want to get our black into the white yet because it's still wet and then you're going to have a bunch of gray palm trees. We can take the black right on top of these colors even though the paint is wet because black is such a powerful color. It has great power. So it'll it will cover up any of the colors we have here. If you want to, you could take a hair dryer and go over the background first if you don't want to paint right on top of your background. But the background will dry relatively quickly, and like I said, black kind of holds up on its own. So what I'm painting right now are just some skinny little palm tree trunks. And we're going to do lots of these little palm tree trunks. Those that are closer, we'll do a bit wider. So I'm just going to bring this up here. This is really just kind of a fun, easy painting. One that you could definitely enjoy on a rainy evening like we have today. We've had thunderstorms on and off all day today and last night, and so haven't done much outside today, but that's okay. Rain gives me an excuse to stay inside. I'm still avoiding this area here that's wet. I don't want to get palm tree black into that white sun because it'll ruin the sun or it'll turn it gray. So we're just gonna avoid that. Plus I want to paint around the sun. I don't want to paint over it. I'm gonna do some coming from different directions here. If you think about it, this is a really cool background for any sort of silhouette painting that you want to do. So I could paint anything at all. I'll do another little skinny ones down here. So I'm gonna do some skinnies. Like these little palm trees are farther away, so the trunk's a little skinnier. So we'll do some little skinnies there. Okay. Now, for the actual palm fronds, there's a couple ways you can do it. The way I'm going to show you is with this brush here, this liner brush. So I'm just going to kind of create spokes. This is very similar if you did the, well, was it? The dandelion puffs. These are going to look a little bit like the dandelion puffs that I taught back in, I think it was early June or maybe the end of May. If you missed that one, you can check it out on my YouTube page. Look up the painted toad on YouTube and you should be able to find it. All right, now that this area around here is pretty dry, I'm going to bring up one more little pine, I almost said pine tree, I'm a palm tree that's in this closer group here. Let's bring that up here. There. Just going to put a little bunch up here. And then where some of these kind of at the top is a little bit thicker. So let's add some thickness to the tops of these palm trees. So a couple there. I might put a few lower ones here. Let's do some more in these kind of farther back. So they'll be a little bit skinnier. Well, I can just show you on the back side of one of my palettes. How about, okay, let's do it there. So I'm going to show you on the back side of this. So if you have, let me just do a little trunk real quick here. There's a couple different ways to do the palm trees, and I would recommend practicing both ways. If you want to try the fan brush and you want to try the this ultra fine what am I trying to say, liner brush, I'll show you both ways and you can kind of decide for yourself which way you think is going to work for you, or, you know, do what I'm doing and just practice it. So our palm trees have this little branches sticking out like this. Hopefully you can see that okay. If you want to do the liner brush, you just take it and you're just going to gently create. I'm barely touching the canvas here. Hopefully it's focusing. Sometimes my camera wants to. And you're just going to gently brush these down like this. So you can get a very cool, oop, that one's a little thick. Don't worry if you get some thick and thin, it's okay. You can have like this one, maybe they're sticking up a little bit. You barely touching at all. I'm being very gentle with the brush here, and keep it loaded with paint. If you don't keep it wet with paint, it's not going to flow for you, and then you're going to get frustrated. Okay, so that's one way to do them. If you're adventurous and you want to try a fan brush, and I'm going to be honest, I am not a big fan of the fan brush, but the truth is I need to practice more so I get better at it. But you can take, this is a fan brush. See, it's very pretty. You're going to load up your fan brush here. I usually like to take a little bit off by just kind of scraping it on the palette, and then you can also try to do your palm trees like this. So you just kind of pull it. That's actually not half bad. Ooh, maybe I will use a fan brush. This one is really big for this painting, so it's a little tricky unless you can find a small fan brush to get on this smaller painting. But that's two different ways. So this was with the liner brush, this is with the fan brush. I would prefer to use a smaller fan brush for this painting because it is a little 5x7. So for this one, I'm going to use my liner brush to fill in all of those little spots. So let's start filling out these palm trees. Load my brush up with paint. I'm going to start over here on this far side and just gently kind of pull this down. Little palm fronds. It's funny, I'm resting my arm down here and I have salt on my mat because earlier today I was doing salt painting with some young learners I teach. So I have salt all over my table. It's one of the hazards of teaching multimedia art is I usually have all sorts of things, clay, salt, all sorts of interesting things. I find it does tend to be easier, I think, if you pull from the frond out to get the skinny edge. Sometimes you can go the other way, but I feel like it's more successful if you go from the branch and pull down. You'll get a skinnier edge. So there's a little hint there. Don't worry about getting all these perfect. They're not always perfect. And if you have to, like this one, I'm having a hard time on this angle. I'm just going to turn it so that I can maneuver my brush a little bit easier. There's nothing wrong with turning your painting. I don't often do it just because I'm trying to make sure that you can see everything I'm doing. But if you need to move your painting and turn it so that it's an easier angle for you to paint, then by all means, go ahead and do that. Okay, I think that's it. What do you think? Wasn't that beautiful? I just love the colors in the background. It just really pops. Really looks beautiful. So let me switch here. All right. So this is the Tropical Paradise, and I hope that you enjoyed either watching me paint or if you're going to paint this later, have fun with it. I'll upload it to my YouTube page too. And like I said, if you want to get the next update on what we're doing next week for Paint With Me, make sure you go to my website at www.paintedtoad.com. You can click on and add yourself to my mailing list. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and remember to be creative, be artistic, and get connected at the Painted Toad. I'll see you later. Bye.